It's Friday, January 2nd. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Will Canada's new grocery code of conduct help cut your food costs? Halifax Mayor talks taxes, traffic, and water rates in our year-end conversation.
A cold start to the month, but the next weather system looks like it'll be a mix of snow and rain.
Live from our Maritime's News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. Now that the calendar has officially flipped to 2026, grocery stores and suppliers are working within a code of conduct designed to protect consumers. But as CTV's Callum Smith reports, there are already questions about whether the policy will work.
When you talk to people outside the grocery store, price tags are on the minds of many.
That's the main concern, especially meat. There's still very high prices on meat.
Nobody wants to pay more than they should, you know, and I go between stores.
After being rolled out in phases, there's now a dispute resolution process in place as part of the National Grocery Code of Conduct for issues between suppliers and grocers. It's all aimed at a more fair and transparent supply chain. Ottawa already warned the voluntary code could become mandatory if the key players didn't sign up, but since then, Canada's 5 largest grocers jumped on board.
It is a voluntary code, so no fines, no reprimands, or anything like that. We don't know if it is going to work.
If it does, he says it won't lower prices, but might slow growth.
We are expecting to see more variety and more price stability, so that food inflation rate that we have at 4.7% should drop if the code works.
The Canadian Federation of Independent Grocers is confident it will be effective.
The only mechanism we have available is the name and shame, but I do believe, as I said, that will work.
He agrees there will likely be some price stabilization if this is successful and says additional grocery variety is good news for consumers, expecting a more level playing field for the smaller shops.
We have a myriad of rural and remote communities out there where often the independent grocer is the only source of food for those rural and remote communities. And in the past, we've seen the independent grocers have not always been treated fairly by suppliers.
Experts say we will be able to make a better judgment within 1 year to see if the code has been effective. Callum Smith, CTV News, Dartmouth.
Some new government policies and regulations have now kicked in. With more on some of the key items, here's CTV's Avery McRae.
It's a new year, and with it comes some new rules and regulations across Canada you should be aware of.
We've got this huge influx of people on Canadian soil expecting permanent residence who won't get it.
Ottawa has set new immigration targets. After welcoming more than 483,000 new residents in 2024, the federal government has slashed targets from 395,000 last year to 380,000 this year. The number will be cut even more in 2027 to 365,000 new permanent residents. That includes temporary foreign worker targets, which aim to recruit 230,000 compared to 365,000 in 2025. But the largest cut will be felt by Atlantic universities. Canada will issue 155,000 new student visas this year. Last year, the number was over 400,000. On the tax front, a new middle-class tax cut will go into effect for those making $57,000 or less a year. Automatic tax filings will also be implemented for around 1 million low-income Canadians, and first-time home buyers will be eligible for tax rebates once legislation is passed. And an elbows up buy Canadian movement that begun because of the trade war will soon be a full-on federal policy. It will ensure federal spending prioritizes Canadian suppliers and workers. With that comes the implementation of the Free Trade and Labour Mobility Canada Act, which will remove barriers and regulations between provinces.
I think symbolically, it's a really good way to start off the year. Actual impact, I think it's really more the provinces than the feds that we're looking for action from.
One thing that hasn't changed to start the new year is a trade deal with the United States. Tariffs and the uncertainty surrounding them dominated headlines in 2025, and now the Canada-US-Mexico trade agreement is up for review this year. Avery McRae, CTV News, St. John.
Now, Halifax landlords are trashing a reduced rate hike by the city's water utility, saying a proposed 17.6% increase this year is still too expensive. Last month, the provincial regulator approved the double-digit rate increase down from Halifax Water's proposed 35.6% bump. Rental housing providers Nova Scotia says the increase is still more than 6 times the current rate of inflation. The group says the rate hike will be passed on to the 40% of Nova Scotians who rent. It wants to see more gradual increases of 5% a year for 5 years. Mayor Andy Filmore addresses the water rate situation later in this show.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Police in St. John are investigating after a 59-year-old man was found dead during a New Year's Day fire. The body of the man was found while firefighters were trying to put out the blaze on Guildford Street. Police say the major crime unit, forensic services, and the coroner's office were called in to investigate the death. The building was also extensively damaged during the fire. The cause remains under investigation. A house fire in Upper Tantallon, just outside Halifax, was destroyed on a fire in New Year's Day. More than a dozen crews responded to the fire on Hubley Mill Lake Road just before 6:30. The house was fully engulfed in flames. Officials say no one was home at the time and no injuries were reported. The cause has yet to be determined in that fire. It's been a snowy start to the year for some parts of the Maritimes. In St. John, a temporary overnight parking ban has now been declared for some areas. And this is how things started in St. John in the new year. Lots and lots of snow. Beginning tonight at 11 o'clock, no on-street parking will be allowed in the South and Central Peninsula areas. Any vehicles remaining on the street will be ticketed or towed. The city will have 3 parking lots available for overnight for those who typically park on the street. The ban will be lifted tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And speaking of St. John, there's the uptown rate now, 6 minutes after 6 o'clock, as we bring in CTV meteorologist Kayla Mitchell. And it was a pretty good dump of snow for some folks, particularly in New Brunswick.
It was a snowy wallop to get 2026 started, that's for sure. The St. John Airport reporting 31 centimeters of snow. I had a viewer report from Quispamsis of 45 centimeters of snow. A second report a little bit further towards the north near Cambridge Narrows in New Brunswick of 28 centimeters of snow, matching a volunteer observer who reported 28 centimeters in and around Rogersville. It was this area of New Brunswick, beginning approximately from St. John and then extending into areas that ended up being just to the east of Fredericton. You notice Fredericton was just on the outskirts of that heavier band of snow, picking up only 7 centimeters. That saw the most widespread snowfall totals in the range of around 20 to 45 centimeters. Now, there were other parts of the Maritimes as well that did pick up a fairly significant amount of snow, including parts of the west of Prince Edward Island. Foxley River reported some snowfall totals of around 13 centimeters of snow. And in Nova Scotia, the most snow seemed to fall for areas beginning around the Digby Neck and then extending up into the Annapolis Valley, with 20 centimeters reported at Bear River and 17 centimeters of snow reported at Middleton. Other parts of the Maritime saw more of a mixture of snow, ice pellets, and rain, though, of course, with the quickly falling temperatures, in some cases, those wet surfaces, they did freeze and ice up, leading to some slippery situations for today. Taking a look at the temperatures now, you can see we've been plunged back into some polar air around the entirety of the Maritime region. Temperatures at this hour, several degrees below the freezing mark or down into the minus teens. That is being accompanied by a blustery wind, so wind chill is certainly still a factor around the region. I'll talk more about the cold, how long it's going to last for, Todd, when I'm back later on.
All right, we will see you later in the show for that. Police in Cape Breton made an unusual discovery after pulling over a speeding driver in an 80-kilometer-an-hour zone. He was doing 113. And when police stopped a pickup in Irish Cove last Saturday, they spotted a large quantity of illicit cannabis. A 20-year-old driver from New Waterford was arrested, and you can see what officers seized: more than 7 kilograms of dried cannabis and 600 cannabis vapes. The suspect faces several charges of possession for the purpose of distribution. He'll appear in court in the spring. A new year and a new scam in our region. It's targeting seniors who drive and creating all kinds of confusion and concern. CTV's Emma Convey joins us now from Halifax, and you've got the details, Emma.
Todd, you may have seen some of these yourself circulating on social media or online, and what I mean by that is possible scams We're hearing that there are some driving rules that are in place, but the thing is, it's actually not the case, and seniors believe it to be. Lots of drivers on the roads in Halifax today, many of them seniors. Some who thought with the new year came new tests to drive.
I see it on the internet mostly about the changes coming into effect, and I think it's totally wrong. There's lots of good drivers out there as seniors.
He's referring to false information circulating online about new Canadian rules for senior drivers.
In Ontario, there has been discussion about perhaps changing the rules around how drivers are tested as they get older. And so the scammers have taken that little bit of truth, that the fact that they're thinking about it, and turned it into something that making it sound like it's going to happen.
This scam is something the provincial government says they warned the public about.
We thought it was true because it seemed like it was come from the provincial government.
In a statement to CTV News, the province said this is part of a misinformation campaign that's going across Canada. We've heard from several other jurisdictions that they are seeing similar messages to this.
We are seeing this popping up not just in Nova Scotia, but it happened 5 months ago in New Brunswick. It's happened in the fall in Australia.
There are many reasons why these fake campaigns are started. One, according to David Shipley, is to make it look like our society is falling apart.
A number of nation states, Russia, China, Iran, other places, making the West look broken is job number one. The next part of it is it weakens us. Anything that can tear our society apart at a time where we need to be more united than ever.
Or just people causing a stir online to build an audience that will react to these topics over time.
One of the reasons that seniors are vulnerable is that they're often too trusting.
I live in a seniors building, and my sister lives in a building, seniors building, and there's an average of 2 scams per week at my residence.
Now, Todd Bill Van Gorder says that the government needs to come out strong, explaining the actual driving rules and clarifying all of this for seniors, not just on social media, as many of them don't even use those platforms. Todd.
That's a good point, Emma. Thank you for that in Halifax for us this evening. It's hard to ring in the new year when someone has stolen your bell. Parishioners at a church in Fredericton are bewildered by the holiday theft of a large historic bell. CTV's Sarah Plowman has the details.
As Canadians ring in the new year, nothing is ringing here. A church bell that holds 200 years of history is gone, stolen days after Christmas.
It's a sad situation.
Who in the world would want to take a church bell?
Nearby security cameras captured a black truck around 2 a.m. Monday, but didn't pick up a license plate.
This is the actual evidence of the cutting.
The former minister at St. Peter's Anglican Church estimates the mostly brass bell weighs between 300 and 400 pounds. Thieves left a trail of damage to floodlights, a signpost, and shrubs.
Didn't care about destroying things to get to the bell.
It's believed the bell was made in England in 1820 for the original Christ Church across town. But when that church was torn down and replaced, the bell came here.
And so it's part of our collective heritage and culture. And, certainly it's not something we just want to see tossed away or melted down.
The church is also significant, built in the 1830s by the local black community. Whites and blacks worshipped here together at a time when segregation was the norm.
This church has been up and open continuously, and that makes it the oldest church of any denomination in continuous use in the greater Fredericton area.
Police are investigating. The latest from Fredericton's police is that the bell hasn't been found, and they're asking for tips from the public. What's your message to the thieves?
I would like to see them return the bell.
A plea from the parish to return a link to their past as a new year begins. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
Well, late this afternoon, we received this photo from officials. Police recovered the bell in pieces, not far from the church. The former minister tells CTV News it appears to have been smashed by a sledgehammer and tossed in a ditch. Police say their investigation is ongoing. The holidays can be a difficult time. For some Maritimers who experience family violence, it's time to make a change. A maritime nonprofit organization is seeing an increase in the number of people seeking to get their help, making a move. CTV's Vanessa Wright reports.
As the holiday season winds down, the number of people looking to escape abusive homes is going up. Shelter Movers is a Canadian charity that helps them do just that.
We will go to either the place of abuse or another location, and we will pick up their items, and then we will either move them if they have a new location, or we will store them until they find a new location.
The charity has completed 10,000 survivor relocations, including 1,000 in Nova Scotia and 300 in New Brunswick. But it's a milestone Tupi says is not exactly a celebration.
It's mixed feelings. We're happy that we're able to do the work, but it's very sad that the need is there.
The need for survivor relocations tends to spike during the holidays, especially in January and February. It's a time of year that can be even harder for those leaving violent homes, which is why victims turn to organizations like Shelter Movers in hopes of a discreet exit. Lately, the charity has focused its efforts on rural communities.
I think we see from the statistics that it happens a lot in smaller rural communities as well, where those things are often sort of swept aside. Femicide is the highest in New Brunswick across the Atlantic provinces. So the need is there.
According to Shelter Movers, every 2 days a woman or girl is killed in Canada, most often at the hands of an intimate partner or family member. And children who witness violence in the home have at least twice the rate of psychiatric disorders as children from nonviolent homes.
We need to educate men, we need to educate women, we need to educate children, right? So we can break these cycles of violence.
Shelter Movers is asking people for donations. I hope it will give the next person looking to leave a violent home the means to do so. Vanessa Wright, CTV News, Halifax.
Time for our first break this evening. A cold and gusty night ahead for the Maritimes. Kayla Mitchell has the weather details. We'll also hear from the Mayor of Halifax. But first, treading water.
We're basically operating in crisis mode on a daily basis.
The years-long struggle for a new pool in Fredericton continues. We'll have the details after this. Fredericton's swimming community is hoping 2026 will be the year for real movement on building a new competition pool in the capital. Here's CTV's Nick Moore.
The Sir Max Aitken Pool inside the University of New Brunswick's Lady Beaverbrook Gymnasium was announced to be at the end of its lifespan in 2017. It is still operating with temporary fixes that have been put in place, the latest this past fall, with an air handling system which saw the pool close for several weeks. When it reopened, it did so with reduced capacity.
It's been uncertainty. We're basically operating in crisis mode on a daily basis.
Nathan White is a spokesperson for the Fast Swim team, along with a number of other aquatic groups in the city fighting for a new competition-sized pool in Fredericton.
We don't know any day how long this pool can stay open. We're already under restricted hours, which means we have less pool time here, which means we have to have less programming or rent more expensive space.
The cost of a new competition-sized pool has been pegged at $81.3 million. The city's attempt to bring the Capital Region Service Commission on board was not successful. The local YMCA conducted a viability study this year that found its current facility could be renovated into a competition pool. A statement from Fredericton City Hall says building a new aquatics facility is a priority for the city. However, it is a significant investment for partners, so these conversations take time.
Many people have been told this for 10, 15 years and have yet to see a project even start. We can barely get these stopgap solutions in place to keep what's here alive, let alone do we have any place for growth.
The capital city's aquatics community is hoping the new year will change that before it's too late. Nick Moore, CTV News, Fredericton.
On our website, maritime researchers think they're closer to understanding the moos of cows. You're going to want to read about that now at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Okay, we're going to take a break. On the other side, the maritime weather forecast. Prepare for chilly weather after this. 5 after 6. It's -10 in Halifax, and that is a view of Highway 102 cutting through the city. That, I believe, is the Dunbrack interchange.
Nice view. Looks pretty clear at the moment.
It does, doesn't it?
There are parts of Nova Scotia, though, still contending with some flurries and some snow squalls. I'll be talking about that when I come back. And then, of course, something that the entirety of the Maritimes is feeling right now, and that's the colder temperatures. And we are not alone here in the Maritimes feeling some early January cold. Let's take a look at weather conditions across the country, and we can see that there's quite a bit of cold air in place, of course, up through the Northern Territories, as well as into northern areas of Alberta and Saskatchewan. Even Edmonton right now, quite cold, sitting at around -15, -16 at Winnipeg with a mix of sun and cloud. Looking further off towards the east, we've got -6 right now at Toronto. Ottawa and Montreal are both around -12 right now. Quebec City is sitting at -18 here. The Maritimes are actually colder at the moment than some areas in Labrador. Labrador City sitting around -9, and Happy Valley Goose Bay sitting at around -2. 0 right now at St. John's in Newfoundland. Taking a look at the snow squall watches in effect. They're in around the minus basin, then they extend down into the Annapolis Valley. There have been flurries, maybe a few snow squalls throughout the day today as that cold west wind is blowing over the Bay of Fundy waters. I've also had reports of some significant snow squalls around southwestern areas of Nova Scotia in a few spots, including Cape Sable Island. A reviewer let me know that they've picked up around 15 centimeters of snow throughout the day. The snow squall watch is calling for some totals of 5 to 10 centimeters. That risk of snow squalls will continue into this evening and tonight, but does look like it'll be diminished for Saturday. There will be a general chance of some flurries in Nova Scotia on Saturday, though, with most communities with around a 40% chance of some flurries throughout the day. Other parts of the region for tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud. Now, when it comes to the winds, they're going to continue to be blustery through tonight. So wind chill will definitely be a factor for this evening, for tonight, and even for tomorrow. Some of the wind gusts in the forecast for Saturday, between 20 and 50 kilometers per hour. So you're still going to feel that out there if you're in the cold air. And speaking of the cold air, low temperatures for tonight in the province of New Brunswick will be mostly falling into a range around -14 to -18, though some in the northwest of the province as cold as -21. Down to around -14 for many communities in Prince Edward Island tonight, and the low temperatures for Nova Scotia mostly between -6 and -10. -11 though at Truro and -13 in Amherst. High temperatures for tomorrow in the north of New Brunswick between -13 and -16 with a mix of sun and cloud. Mostly sunny through the first part of the day through central areas of New Brunswick with a few clouds developing for the afternoon, and a lot of the high temperatures between -10 and -13, though -9 at Campobello and -8 at Grand Manan. For Prince Edward Island for tomorrow, the high temperatures between -9 and -13 with a mix of sun and cloud and some west winds that'll be sustained near 20 kilometers per hour, but some gusts that could be close to 50 at times. In Cape Breton tomorrow, the high temperatures between -5 and -8 and flurries expected. Same thing goes around the north shore and eastern shore of Nova Scotia with high temperatures between -4 and -8. -11 at Amherst for tomorrow, -8 at Truro, -7 at Enfield, city centers Halifax and Dartmouth, closer to -4, and then it's -5 for Chester and Lunenburg. Heading down the south shore of Nova Scotia, -7 at Bridgewater, and then -3 at Liverpool and Shelburne, -4 around Barrington and Yarmouth, and in the Annapolis Valley, most of the high temperatures will be around -8, though -6 for Digby. Let's take a look at our extended forecast, beginning first with New Brunswick. Coming up on Sunday, it's going to be a mix of sun and cloud, and still with some frigid temperatures. Daytime high temperatures down to the -teens, overnight low temperatures well down to the -teens, and some into the -20s. Still cold on Monday as well with a mix of sun and cloud. On Tuesday, some increasing cloudiness during the day with a chance of flurries Tuesday night. Then the next system coming in looks like it'll pass to the west of the Maritimes. That puts us on the slightly milder side of it. So it looks like it's going to be another mix, a mixture of snow and rain for New Brunswick on Wednesday, followed by a mix of sun and cloud for Thursday and Friday. For Nova Scotia in the forecast, it's flurries expected in a cold west wind over the next couple of days, including for Sunday. On Monday, it's cloudy periods in the forecast. Tuesday, a mix of sun and cloud, and then rain expected out of that next weather system on Wednesday with more moderate temperatures. Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, a mix of sun and cloud. And for Prince Edward Island, coming up for the end of the weekend, it's a mix of sun and cloud with some flurries coming in Sunday night. It's a chance of flurries. Temperatures still cold on Monday. Tuesday, a mix of sun and cloud, a mixture of snow and rain on Wednesday of next week, and then a mix of sun and cloud Thursday and Friday, Todd.
Okay, thank you, Caleb. We'll see you at the end of the show. Next, our year-end conversation we did recently with the Mayor of Halifax. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, tonight we're going to take a look at the issues facing the region's largest city, of course, Halifax, and Mayor Andy Filmore joins us for a look back at 2025, a look ahead into 2026. Thank you very much for your time.
Nice to be with you, Todd, and top of the season to you.
Thank you very much. Likewise. As we sit down, Halifax water very much in the news. The regulatory board has brought back what looks to be a 20% hike in water, certainly down from what the 36% the utility was looking for. You've been critical about that kind of ask. Are you all right with this number? Is this kind of what you were thinking it might look like?
Well, look, we are in an affordability crisis right now, and residents of HRM are facing down the barrel of a power rate increase. They're now looking at what's likely a double-digit increase in their water bill, on top of all the other challenges of affordability that we know that people are being faced with, rent and interest rates and inflation and so forth. So I believe it's still too high. It's better than it was. I was really looking for single digits. However, I will say, Todd, that, Halifax Water provides an absolutely fundamental role in HRM. It supports the growth of all the housing that we need to build to meet the housing crisis. It supports our ambitions around economic development. It supports our ability to have meet public health requirements with clean drinking water. And right now, it's just not keeping up. So the Rate and Utility Board noted that, and I have to agree with them.
And you've asked for an audit to be done by the city's Auditor General and the province as well. What are you hoping would come of that?
Well, so the Rate and Utility Board noted that the utility has been paying insufficient attention to its financial health, that it has overestimated certain of its costs that led to the 36% rate increase request, and that there are other structural challenges that affect ratepayers. So what really pushed it over the top for me, requesting the audits, was the Rate and Utility Board asked Halifax Water to engage HRM on whether or not we could look after their financial shortfalls. And that's a hard no without this audit. We can't be asking HRM taxpayers who are already overburdened and who may not even be connected to Halifax Water to pay for Halifax Water's debt. So that's without the audit, I need to understand their governance and their financial practices.
At the same time, and you mentioned affordability, the budget review has been ongoing for some time. Again, the number floated was around the 10% range. Where do you think that might settle?
Yeah, so we're going to have to wait and see what the council will do with that when we begin the budget process in earnest in the new year. I had a motion passed at the council over the summer that directed staff to come back with just a bare bones budget, allowing increases from last year only for collective bargaining agreements, for contracts already signed, and for inflation. And just allowing those little bits of growth in the budget over last year was going to result in a 10.5% increase in the average tax bill. Council has made some decisions since then in our pre-budget regime, and we're now at 10.9%. This is too much, so we're going to have to do some cutting.
Well, and we've reported on it, and it was a bit of a headline maker, this idea of, the repairs that are needed, granted, to the skate park on the Commons. But, and some of your fellow councillors have said, is this the type of thing that is considered a must-do? Why does council get fixated on these things as opposed to dealing with the big picture, which I think probably most Haligonians would like to see, and something that you just kind of mentioned?
Well, people often ask me, Mayor, what's the biggest change you noticed coming from federal politics to municipal politics? And you just really hit on it there. The issues that my council colleagues bring to the table really are district-based. They're on the ground. They're very local level, like the skate park, for example. My energy going into this budget is around cuts and we have to lower that tax increase. We have to have a fix-it-first budget. In other words, we have to look after the things we already own that have requirements for repair and maintenance before we start buying fancy new shiny things that are then also going to be expensive to maintain. So there already is a skate park at that location. This project that is on the table is to completely do it over, recapitalize it, rebuild a new one. And granted, it's a lovely project. It will be lovely when we get to it. But for now, we can make do with some paint and polish and keep that skate park going until we get our budget in order.
Another one of the big issues in the past year, certainly will be in 2026 as well, no doubt, is congestion in the city. Look, so much has been said about bike lanes. We won't get into that. But in terms of congestion in moving this city, what will be done in 2026? We hear a lot about bus lanes to bring rapid bus transit through. There's still that promise of ferries of some kind, be it electric or otherwise. For those Haligonians who are gripping the steering wheel every morning and late afternoon in the commute, what can you offer in terms of hope that the situation might improve rather than deteriorate?
You mentioned a number of things, and that really is the answer. There's not one silver bullet. It's going to be a number of things that we will do better and invest in. It will be getting more ferries on the water. I have just visited Boston for the tree lighting, or rather, while I was there, I visited the tree lighting. I was there to talk to the local transportation authority and the sewer and water utility, by the way. But I was talking to them about Mayor Wu of Boston's ambition that more ferries ply the waters of Boston Harbor, and the invitation to the private sector to come and operate those ferries. So that's working very well in Boston, and I would like to do that as well here. So the harbor is an untapped resource. There are no potholes. There's no congestion. It's free for us to use. So I'll be working on that. The bus rapid transit program is absolutely important, and you can see the city doing land acquisition and getting ready to roll that out. That has quite a cost, so we're working with the Canada Infrastructure Bank and other federal funding programs to help us to pay for that substantial investment. But when we do those two things, when we can get people into ferries instead of crossing on the bridge, when we can get people onto a workable transit system instead of choosing their cars, that will change the dynamics of congestion in our city. It's just that we're going to need some help from the provincial and federal governments to get there. No doubt, the pandemic, the subsequent growth, the immigration and migration to your city has made it suddenly, an issue. But congestion and traffic has been talked about for decades. And it really seems like councils didn't deal with it. And it's now really coming home to roost. Was there a missed opportunity, I don't know, years ago to deal with this? Look, we can play Monday night quarterback for quite a while if we chose to. There are some opportunities that I think over the years have been overlooked. The primary among them, how we use the rail cut, running 1 or 2 trains a day there through that billion-dollar asset that has had such a storied history in our city. It's probably not the best use of that asset, and I'm interested in how we can do more with that. Would CN be willing to talk about that, because they've basically thrown cold water on that for years? And they have for years, and every few years the city goes back and tries again, and we're getting ready to do that again. So we'll see. What's interesting this time is that the Premier has been talking very publicly about how the capital region would benefit from a light rail system, and so that could change the dynamics on the conversation with CN, or it could change the dynamics about other alternatives to CN's tracks. So I'm very interested and encouraged by the Minister of Transportation's RFP of last week, where he is looking at solutions to congestion on the peninsula and having that studied and recommend solutions. You mentioned affordability. It continues to be a problem. All the taxes and rates aside, rate increases aside. Halifax has been listed as the fifth most expensive city in the country in which to rent. Prices keep going up, yet vacancies are on the rise as well. So what do you do about that? Yeah. What can you do about that? So you're a city planner by trade. I am, and I can never leave that behind. It's always in me. And so there's no question that we have to build supply. The old equation of supply and demand is true today as it ever was. So the more supply we build, housing of all types, apartment buildings, townhomes, single-family homes, low-cost housing, all of it. We need all of it right across the spectrum. The more supply there is, the lower the pressure on the cost. We are seeing the vacancy rate rise, and that has had a little bit of pressure, a little bit of magic happening with some of the rents. However, we still have very expensive land costs in our serviced area, the downtown core, downtown Dartmouth. And so what we can do differently here is to open up for redevelopment, lower cost lands in the suburban area near where there's already infrastructure. So the cost of land is a major factor in what the rent or the mortgage winds up being. So if we can lower that variable, by rezoning lower cost land and opening that up, we can drop the price of housing. And we have some really good examples of that, like on in Mount Hope over by Dartmouth General Hospital, where some very low cost housing has been built in a factory, which also brings the cost down, put on low cost land, and that is has been a wonderful project for affordability.
And certainly Shannon Park, which was announced. Yeah. In the minute that I have left, and we want to end on something positive here, recently the PWHL played a game. It's got another one coming up. Sellouts, enthusiastic crowds. You were at that first game.
I was.
There's been a bit of chatter about whether Halifax would make a good location for a franchise. Is that something that you have had discussions with? Is that something, you know, what do you think about that? Would the city be a good spot for it?
Sitting in the stands at the Scotiabank Centre last night, sellout crowd, sold out in 12 minutes, by the way. Crowd on their feet, comprised mostly of young women and their moms, and I want to say their grandmothers. It was a very different and wonderful audience in that place. The energy was through the roof. I think we showed the PWHL that Halifax is a fantastic city to consider expansion into. And, you know, there's a game coming up in January as well, also sold out. So this is a market that is ready for the PWHL.
Is the infrastructure there?
So there are some questions about that. PWHL, like any hockey league, would need to know that there's ice to practice on and that there are flights that can get people where they need to be on time. I think we have all those things, and I think it's worth a good, solid pitch to them.
All right, Mayor Filmore of Halifax. We will be talking about that in the new year, no doubt. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Todd, and Merry Christmas to you, and Happy Holidays to everybody.
Thank you. We'll take a time out. We'll be right back. We didn't have a show last night, but yesterday hundreds of people braved the weather and took part in the New Year's Day polar dip in Dartmouth, and we believe they deserve to be on television. Here's CTV's Vanessa Wright.
While many woke up in a warm and cozy bed on New Year's Day, others were busy taking a frosty dip.
It's quite cold, it's refreshing. A great way to bring in the new year.
The event put on by the Darkside Dippers brought out more than 500 people to Lions Beach Park in Dartmouth. It was just one of many polar plunges happening in the city and nationwide.
The New Year's Day Polar Dip is a super special event, I believe, because it's a day where the community gets together and can jump in the water, do this hard, challenging activity, and sort of feel refreshed and have like somewhat of a clean slate going into the new year.
Many showed up bright and early to take on the challenge.
Feeling a little bit cold, a little bit sleepy.
But soon enough, the ice-cold water offered them a chilly wake-up call.
It's so refreshing. It's a little daunting stepping in off the ice and heading about thigh deep, but it's great. I love it.
You really feel like the pain, but at the same time you feel really excited about it. So yeah, it's incredible. It's a good experience.
It's my second year doing this dip here with these people. I love it. I am here with my friends. This is my friend Fredericton here. We're from church.
It's pretty good. I did it last year, so going back this year for the first time, went for 3 minutes, hit my goal, so doing pretty good.
And whether they stayed in for 3 minutes or 3 seconds, some say it won't be their last.
This is our first year, and I think we'll be going every Sunday with the Darkside Dippers.
The only way to truly jump into the new year. Vanessa Wright, CTV News, Dartmouth.
And hundreds of people also gathered at beaches and lakes all across New Brunswick on New Year's Day.
That's pretty cool.
Lake in Fredericton, crowds began showing up at the popular Capital City Park in the mid-afternoon to take part in the plunge. Polar dips were also held at Mispik Beach in St. John, the Wharf in Shediac, and in Bathurst. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. The Dow Jones kicked off the trading of 2026 up 319 points, and a Canadian uranium mining company was one of the biggest gainers on the TSX today. For the reasons behind all that, here's BNN Bloomberg's Lindsay Biscaya.
Denison Mines shares gained more than 14% today, the biggest intraday gain since October. The reason? The uranium exploration company has reported it is ready to begin the construction of its flagship Phoenix uranium mine. The company has confirmed an expected 2-year construction timeline. Regulatory approvals are in the process and production could begin by mid-2028. Denison warns, however, total costs for the project are now estimated to be 20% higher at more than $500 million. And here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to $72.84. West Texas Intermediate is down to 57.29. Western Canadian Select also ended the day lower at 43.83. And the TSX gained 170 points today, closing at 31,883. And those are your business headlines. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
All right, Kaylin's on the deck. We were talking about polar plunges. Your photo tonight, not quite a plunge, but
it fits the theme.
Fits.
Right? We could call it a polar splash or a polar jump in. It's it's a picture here at Rainbow Haven Beach in the Halifax area. It was sent in by Elizabeth Tomlick. I want to thank Elizabeth very much for taking the time. I mean, I guess we were going to do it. Yesterday in Nova Scotia was about as good as it was going to get as far as the air temperatures went. It was slightly milder, certainly compared to the temperatures that we have now and that are going to be around as we make our way through this evening, tonight, and for much of the weekend. Forecast tomorrow, just in the vicinity of Rainbow Haven Beach there. Let's take a look at Cow Bay. It's going to be a mix of sun and cloud. There is going to be a chance of a few flurries moving through during the day, and the high temperature will be near -5. Here's a look at our day planner for tomorrow. So first thing in the morning around the Maritime region, you're going to be starting off with temperatures well down to the -teens in New Brunswick, some into the -20s in the northwest of that province, around -14 for Charlottetown and Prince Edward Island. Morning temperatures for Nova Scotia in a lot of cases between around -8 and -11 in the afternoon. High temperatures, well, not all that high. They're mostly going to be down in the range for around -11 to -16 for New Brunswick, -12 for Charlottetown and Prince Edward Island, and between -5 and -9 for many areas of Nova Scotia, where it'll be cloudy and still with a chance of some flurries. Todd.
All right, bundle up, everyone. Okay, thanks, Kaylin. Have a great weekend. That is our look at the day here at home. Jesse Thomas is here with the late update at 11:30, and CTVNewsAtlantic.ca is where you will find our weekend reporting. We're going to leave you tonight at St. Margaret's Bay, Nova Scotia, with the names of everyone who brings you your newscast each night. I'm Todd Battis. Hope to see you Monday evening at 6. Have a good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.